Today we're breaking down a question I'm sure every single Caribbean traveler has asked. Why is it so expensive to travel within the region? If you've ever searched flights between the region or you've been planning your travel journey, the shocking reality we've all come across is that it's much more expensive to travel within the region than it is to travel to the US. So a lot of times we plan our trips to go to the US rather than traveling within the region. And for me, while it's something I've come to accept, I've never really asked why. I finally looked into the reason why, and in this video I'll be sharing with you what I came across. I always assumed that the longer the flight, the more expensive it will be. So if you're traveling to Europe, you might expect your flight to be about $1,000. If you're traveling to the US, you might expect your flight to be around $400 to $600. So you just assume, okay, the further I'm going, the more I expect to pay. However, when looking within the Caribbean, you would see that shorter flights cost more per mile than longer flights. But even worse is that looking at the breakdown of tickets, taxes and fees actually sometimes make up to 50% of the ticket cost. So that 300 US flight to Barbados is $150 for the ticket and $150 in taxes and fees. But what are those taxes going towards? You're paying departure tax. So this is the tax from the country that you're leaving. So if you're leaving from Trinidad to Barbados, you're paying the departure tax from Trinidad. You're also paying the arrival tax. So if you're arriving into Barbados, you're paying the arrival tax for landing in Barbados. And then you also have transit fees. So for example, if you're flying with Liat and you're going to Antigua, you probably have to land in St. Lucia first. So you'll pay the departure tax from Trinidad, you'll pay the transit fee when you land in St. Lucia, and then you pay the arrival tax when you land in Antigua. So those are three different taxes you're paying within the region itself. Crazy. Then in some instances you have airport and security fees, so I guess that would contribute to the operations of the airports. And then you also have value added tax. So it comes like double taxation. Matter of fact, triple taxation. Now I understand that airports have to run, so they have their fees basically to pay operations. So in Trinidad, I see they changed the company to G4S. So now I think G4S does the airport operations. So you have to pay the staff, the baggage, the vehicles on the tarmac, the buses transporting people. So there are things that clearly has to be paid for, but at the same time, if we want to promote travel within the region, some compromises have to be made, no? Now it's not only the taxes. The Caribbean region, compared to international travel, of course, travel within the region, it's a smaller market. So yes, we have limited competition, but we see that with competition, you can get better prices. So before, we mainly had Caribbean airlines traveling between, you can tell it's my favorite route, but we mainly had Caribbean airlines traveling between Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados. And then we have intra-Caribbean joining that, and now we see that the prices are getting a little better to compete. Our population within the Caribbean is small, so higher cost per person because we have a smaller number of persons traveling. Now, why is this even important? In my opinion, I think that with these higher costs, it is a barrier to intra-Caribbean travel. So like myself, there are persons who want to travel within the region, but if I say that my flight to Barbados is the same thing to go to Miami, guess what? More than likely, I may go to Miami because in some instances, you're looking at the value for your money. So depending on where you place things, you have less travel within the region itself from Caribbean travelers. With this, it may be also harder for families to travel. So you may have families who want to take a little small trip, but because of the prices, they don't travel, which is money lost for the airline as well as for other Caribbean territories. Businesses may lose opportunities. And the main point, Caribbean people travel outside of the Caribbean rather than within the region itself. So this is the issue, but what could be done? Now, airlines and tourism bodies have been advocating to governments to harmonize the taxes so it's not as expensive to travel within the region. So some of the recommendations has been to reduce or harmonize the taxes, having a standardized tax across different countries, as well as a suggestion to lower excessive transit fees. And the main thing that we have been struggling with in a lot of different areas, regional cooperation. Oh, I have a video to make because we have some regional cooperation taking place, but we need it on a wider scale. Okay, we need it on a wider scale. But CARICOM level policy agreement to have these standardized taxes as well as a shared aviation policy. I know for me, if flights were cheaper, I would be knocking about the Caribbean. There are other things we need to address about travel within the Caribbean for CARICOM nationals, but this is one of the first steps that needs to be made. So, 2 questions. Answer the poll or you could just comment both. So, 1, would you travel within the Caribbean region more if flights were cheaper? Yes or no? And if yes, comment below what would be the first Caribbean island you would travel to if flights were cheaper. Comment below. Check out this video if you want to see some travel updates. If you're interested in all things travel, especially from a Caribbean perspective, go ahead and subscribe. But safe travels until next time.